Well, I'm gonna have trouble falling asleep tonight. Okay, so this is Boogiefrights. This is the episode of the Powerpuff Girls where the Powerpuff Girls are getting ready to go to bed, and Bubbles is afraid of the dark, and she, of course, takes all their stuffed animals, which I thought was pretty funny. And Buttercup, of course, because Buttercup's kind of a jerk, decides to... Yeah, Buttercup, I'm finding more and more, is kind of a bit of an evil, which kind of... I'm surprised she's still a good guy. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if she turned evil for like an episode or two? But I digress. So anyway, Buttercup decides to play on Bubbles' fears, and yeah, that seems to be running gag. Buttercup teasing Bubbles, and basically says, "Oh, you're a baby. Oh, watch out for the boogeyman. He's gonna come and get you." And Bubbles is afraid, and Professor Utonium walks in. He's like, "No, no, no, girls. There's no boogeyman. Buttercup, stop teasing your sister. Bubbles, be brave. Be afraid." It's like the kind of generic speech version of the speech from Lion King where Mufasa says to Simba, being brave doesn't mean go looking for trouble. It means like just being brave when you face danger, yada yada yada. And then it turns out that there are actually boogeymen under everyone's beds, and that they are afraid of the light. So they basically had this plan they can only come out when it's dark, and even then they're very limited due to night lights, street lights, house lights. So they have a plan, phase one of which is to just cut the power to Townsville so they can party all night. And then they use a giant disco ball to block out the sun, so they can party all day. And of course the Powerpuff Girls find out about this, and surprisingly, the bad guys don't really have a plan for what if the Powerpuff Girls show up, so the Powerpuff Girls destroy the disco ball, and once again the day is saved thanks to the Powerpuff Girls. This is an episode I thought I wasn't going to like at first, but I wound up really liking it. The reason why I wasn't like is because it's really generic. I mean, like, the professor's speech to Bubbles, the fact that the bad guys don't really have much of a plan to stop the Powerpuff Girls. I mean, every bad guy is always like, well, what if the Powerpuff Girls show up? And they usually have a plan. These guys just were kind of shocked. But there's some stuff that made it really good. For one thing, it was a really relatable concept. As a little kid, I used to be afraid of the dark. Needed my nightlight. Was always afraid that some monster would attack me or something. And I really like that the show plays on that fear a lot of kids have of the dark and what if they're monsters. So I really liked... Hang on a second. I think there's... Sorry, I thought I heard something. But yeah, it was kind of a relatable concept. I mean, all kids have feared that, and I like how the show's playing with that, what if there are monsters? That being said, though, I do find it kind of silly that Bubbles... I mean, okay, afraid of the dark, yes, but afraid of monsters? Really? I mean... You're a fucking Powerpuff Girl. You can fly. You can go really fast. I think they have laser eyes, and they have super strength. You could totally beat the shit out of any boogeyman that comes to you. I don't understand why you're afraid when you have this power. But let's go into what the episode is awesome, which is the concept of the boogeyman, all these monsters, which is awesome. First off, the boogeyman himself, great design. I love the fact that he's voiced by Kevin Michael Richardson. He's an awesome voice actor. I loved him. Love him as Drac and Ratchet and Clank, Gun 2, and Lilo and Stitch. He's just a great voice actor in general. Let's see. I love all the designs to the monsters. They look really cool. In fact, I feel like most of the effort in this episode went into just creating all the monsters, because they all have really fun and creative designs. Some of them are on screen for like a second or two, and yet they look really cool, and it's like just insane that they put that much effort into something that brief. So I'm guessing this was a fun episode for the animators, just in terms of going nuts with monster designs that would probably barely show up. And it looks really cool. Very demonish, very hellish. It looks like hell on earth. The action when the girls are beating up the boogie monsters is fun. And once again, Jendi Tartakovsky nails with the action. I wish the show went a little further with the action, but again, that's what Samurai Jack is for. Jendy Tartakovsky wanted to do a show that was just nonstop action, and hey, let me take care of that light. It's distracting. There we go. And that's what he got. Actually, let me turn it back on. Never mind. You'll just have to deal with the light. So just try not to look in these, because I know you can clearly see the reflection of my room. So the last thing, there was a Star Wars reference at the end when they go to blow up the disco ball and it's reenacting the famous Death Star scene. I thought it was cute. It was a little cheesy, especially when the professor says that thing to Bubbles and she's like, okay, got it. But I can't entirely blame it because this is something that was clearly Jendy Tartakovsky's idea. If you don't know, Jendy Tartakovsky is a huge Star Wars fan. In the other two shows he's worked on, Dexter's Lab and Samurai Jack, there's a ton of Star Wars references. He actually wound up going on to direct like a Clone Wars mini cartoon series, which I'd highly recommend checking out. So it really doesn't surprise me that much that he referenced Star Wars. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me if there's plenty more references to Star Wars. Interestingly enough, this episode aired in December of '98, so that's about 5 or 6 months before The Phantom Menace came out. Wow. The pre-Phantom Menace. Hopefully the new ones will redeem the prequels. But I digress. I also like the ending, the change to the end title. I thought that was cute. And lastly, a couple things I can't really think of anywhere else to talk about them. The scene where the professor wakes up in bed and there's a snake with the hair that looks like the Mrs. whatever her name is. Is that supposed to acknowledge that he sleeps with her? Because he has a wife, so is the mayor cheating on his wife with that redhead woman? If so, that was kind of a clever adult joke. Also, there's a scene where Buttercup snaps her fingers at the beginning. How does she snap her fingers? She doesn't have any fingers. She just has that stubby little hand thing. But I digress. So yeah, good episode. Story not that good, but some really great presentation. Great designs, great voice acting. So yeah, overall, happy with this episode. And can't wait to see the next one. This is JStar360, signing out.